What comes to mind when you think about culture? For a lot of us, we immediately think of things that are right in front of us, which is languages, food, and clothing. But a society's culture also impacts a person's beliefs, norms, and values. It impacts how you view certain aspects, different ideas, and behaviors. And in case of mental health, it can impact whether or not you seek help, what type of help you seek, and what support do you have around you. Hi and welcome back. I'm Navya Singh and today I'm here to talk about to what extent does the culture and society that we live in affects and influences our mental health. So as you guys know, I'm a student journalist at Newcastle University and right now as a part of my assignment, I'm working on a website Beauty Soul, which is based on mental health and well-being in our country, India. So I'll drop the link down below in the description box. You can check the website to read all the latest stories and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So talking about the story, in my previous story, which was about men's mental health in India, I spoke to 24-year-old chef based in Mumbai and we exchanged our views and opinions on how we feel that men in our society are enslaved to suppress their emotions right from childhood, which apparently makes them more reluctant to reach out for help while battling any sort of mental illness. Today I have with me Nanda Shimasaki, a student who has witnessed and been a part of two different cultures, society and countries. Hi and welcome Nanda. Welcome to my channel.
Hi.
So how have you been?
I've been good. Been busy, but it's fine.
Okay, so as you know, this channel and this website is all about mental health and well-being. So today we'll be talking about how the society and the community that we live in affects and influences our mental health and condition. So before we get into the subject, Nanda, could you please introduce yourself so that our audience knows a little more about you?
Okay. Hi, I'm Nanda. I am 22 years old. I am from Mexico, but I have been in the UK for almost 4 years now. I came here to do my undergrad, but now have stayed so far to do my master's degree. So I'm currently doing journalism.
Okay, so Nanda, in your opinion, how do you think the culture that we live in affects the way we perceive and understand mental illness?
The culture in the UK, you mean, or in general?
Let's start with Mexico, the place where you have,
Okay, so the culture in my country is very open in regards of there's a lot of doctors everywhere. It's very easy to get help. It's really easy to get a good therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or anything like that. You can possibly find one in less than 10 minutes of a Google search, and there's the chances of you knowing one is really high. There's still a taboo around it, a bit like people don't really want to go to therapy, but at least there is the accessibility that you can go and afford one because they're also very affordable as well.
Okay. So would you like to share any story or any episode of mental wellness or challenges that you have faced in recent past or currently you are dealing with? Anything?
Yeah. So like I was telling you before, because I grew up with two parents that are psychiatrists, mental health for me has never been a taboo. It's never been an issue. But I realized that outside my household, there is still a taboo around it. But thanks to my parents, when I grew up and I developed my own issues, it was easy to talk to them about it. It was easy to get treatment. It was never something that I knew I would get, sort of criticized or silenced by my family. So it was rather easy for me. But even though I had parents that they were doctors, I developed my own issues, which is kind of ironic for them in a way. When I was about, I think, 13, I was diagnosed with depression. And then 15, I was diagnosed with anxiety. They went hand in hand. And ever since I was a child, I've been having all sorts of eating disorders. And up until, I think, before the master's in Newcastle, I was diagnosed with a behavior issue, like an impulsive behavior disorder. Yeah.
Okay. So being raised in a family of doctors, how was the environment, within your house, and have they been fluent enough to discuss and talk about issues like anxiety, stress, depression, and was you well informed while being a child?
Yeah, I think because it was always a conversation with them, and I mean I remember that when I was 3 years old, my mom would take me to her classes because she was still finishing uni when I was born. So I literally grew up in that sort of area, in hospitals, in university halls of medicine. So it was pretty easy, and they explained to me if I ever had a doubt like that, what is this disease called, or what is this about, and they would always explain to me, always making sure that it was normal for me, so that I, in the future, if I encountered it, if I had it, or if I met someone that had that disease, I wouldn't be, scared of it or judgmental. They raised me with this idea that you should always be understanding, and that you never know who can have what, essentially.
Well, so in your opinion, how do you think the culture that we live in affects, to what extent does it affects and influences our mental health and condition and the way we perceive it? Do you think the society and everything surrounding influence a lot?
I think our generation is in this sort of um, gray area because we have social media,
Mm-hmm.
whereas our parents' generation didn't have it. And now we can compare ourselves to pretty much anyone in the world. And that, in terms of, body image and stuff, that really, really affects us in a way. But it's not just body image, but just the fact that we can have the internet means that a lot of people can get misinformed. They can
Yeah.
Google any sort of symptoms, and they can, oh, maybe I have depression, maybe it's not depression, but you Googled it and now you think you do. Uh, and I think there's a culture, even now,
Mm-hmm.
with our generation, there's a slight taboo. But I think our generation and the generation below us are opening up more about it, are making it more of a normal thing, like therapy and having mental illness. I think we're reaching that point where it's normal now. Like you don't get criticized. I remember it's like a common thing with my friends that we talk about what we discussed in therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have never imagined previous generations doing that.
Yes, yes, I know. So, if I may ask you about your elementary education, which happened in your home country, Mexico, how was the environment back then? Did you have any subject or sessions during school based on mental health, mental education? As we all have ample of physical activities, and so was there a balance between both?
You mean elementary school, like when I was, like 15 or something?
Yeah.
Uh, it's hard to know. I can't really remember, like, if the school provided any help. Because I
Well,
went to
I think
this.
as a part of your curriculum, as a part of your everyday routine in school, did you have had
Um,
any sort of mental health subject or education or any sort of awareness being created back in school?
no, I went to this sort of religious school,
Okay.
even though they didn't claim to be religious, but they were. And they had stigmas about everything.
Uh,
So no, we never really had any talks about that. We didn't even have sexual health.
mhm.
That's how religious it was.
Well, talking
So yeah.
yeah, sexual health, leave that apart. Even mental health is a big taboo in country like India, so we just can't even imagine having a sexual health conversation or education in our schools. So that's how things function. So, as for your experience, do you feel somewhere even today talking about mental health is considered a taboo in your country? I mean, in Mexico, or is there any kind of stigma associated with mental health in your society or the people that you live within, apart from your family, friends? I mean, the society where your parents stay or the community that there.
I think maybe for older generations, like if I have a friend who has mental issues and they want to get help, they obviously depend on their parents.
Mhm.
as opposed to now. Like, I know that if I was in Mexico, I would be living with my parents. So that's the situation they are at the moment. They are adults, they're consenting adults, but they still live with their parents. They still depend on their parents. And I noticed that when it comes to a friend that needs help, their parents are very opposed to the idea of therapy, even though our generation isn't. And unfortunately, we're at that awkward age where we're still depending on our parents, even though we're adults. So I think in that regard, yes, there's still a stigma, there's still a taboo, there's still a lot of people who would rather not talk about it.
So as you said that people of our age, they so I just want to know whether they are open and acceptable enough to acknowledge the issue they are dealing with. So as you said, they reach out to the parents for their help. So are they open and acceptable enough to even acknowledge it?
In some cases, no. I've seen a lot of, in my culture, there's a lot of this idea that only crazy people need therapy, which I don't know what is based on, but it's a common thing that I've seen. And it shocks me, of course, because I have doctors as parents, yeah. But I imagine that probably if they weren't doctors, what would my situation be like? I don't know. I can relate to that. But yeah, there is this sort of common thought that, oh, if you go to therapy, you must be crazy, you must have like the worst mental illness, when in fact it's just, something normal that everyone can have, like anxiety or whatever, but they're open to not hearing about it. If they want therapy, it means you're crazy automatically, and they just shut you down and don't listen to what you have to say.
So you have are you still connected to friends back in Mexico?
Yeah.
So how it goes with them? Like when you talk about anything related to depression or anxiety, are they well informed about it? Like, do they provide any sort of help or any advice? Or because the people that I have around me or people I know, they have zero information about mental illness or any sort of disorder. So I just couldn't ask them for any sort of help. So that's the question.
I think it's 50-50 with my friends. I certainly have friends who have no idea. They come to me, they ask me, hey, I'm feeling this, this, and that. And I instantly know, oh, it's probably depression, it's probably anxiety. But they don't really know that. And because their parents think, therapy's the devil's work, they don't have information about it. And it's not as easy as you can Google it and find out more about it. I think there's not enough spaces that just tell you the facts and they tell you real information. But then I have the other 50% of my friends who are well informed, who have managed to somehow go to therapy even though their parents are opposed to it. And I've noticed that it is kind of an easy conversation with them to have about mental issues because they understand it pretty well. It's taking them a while, but they've eventually got there. Yeah.
So currently, are you under any sort of medical, counseling or seeking help from a therapist or something?
Well, that's the thing. The UK is so difficult in terms of getting therapy. Like I said, in Mexico, it's very easy to have therapy.
Okay.
You can just get it for affordable prices anywhere. And in the UK, it's an entirely different situation.
Mhm.
So no, for the 4 years I have been here, I have not been on therapy because I can't get it. The NHS doesn't really supply proper therapy for what I need.
So, as in our university, we have various, numbers, and we have sort like different types of help available. So, how does that work? Have you ever tried reaching out there to the
Yeah, I reached to the uni before, and they were helpful in the sense that when I told them I need extensions for this work or I'm feeling very stressed, they obviously were very kind. But I think I've been used to a certain type of therapy, like a
Okay.
psychiatrist or psychologist that sits down with you and tells you what's wrong. Obviously, with the pandemic, that's not possible right now. But the uni just supplies you counseling or, this number you can call if you have really bad issues. But there's not like a uni-based doctor that sees you and gives you therapy. And that to me is essential. And we don't have that. But it's not just Newcastle uni, it's the entire country.
Because I thought that the it's in UK people are more acceptable and vocal about mental health and illness, and the going for help or reaching out for help will be much easier here. I wasn't aware of this fact.
Actually, I mean, it is in a sense people are more open about it, but you have to consider that here they have the NHS as the foundation for everything medical,
Yeah.
and obviously it's under what do you call it? Like they don't have enough funds, they don't have enough staff as it is. I've used the NHS before. I've reached out to them, and the most they can offer is counselling. There's a lot. I think it was my previous uni that told me there's thousands and thousands of people that are still waiting for appointments. And if you do get an appointment, they tell you, "Oh, we're only going to give you 6 sessions, nothing more." And I mean, someone that has experience in this, 6 sessions is not going to do anything for you. It's not going to cure you. It's not going to make you feel better. You need like a therapy that takes you along in this process. Like I'm talking about years and years of therapy. But obviously, it's not really their fault. The government doesn't put enough money into the mental health of this country, and that's why I think the UK is leading towards. Not, don't quote me on this. Investigate it on your own. But I did see that the UK was leading on depression on males from 18 to 25. I think it was the number one country,
Yeah.
and that says a lot about the first world countries that have clearly a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm. So right now, if you're not feeling good, if you are having sort of anxiety attacks or something, so what sort of help do you seek? How do you deal with it?
Well, that's the thing. I've been on medication since I was, say, 15.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my help, like my mattress that I can bounce back if I have an anxiety attack or if I feel depressed. But currently with the pandemic, it's really hard. Normally I would have at least reached out to the counseling in uni or someone in the NHS. But doing it like distance, something that I haven't done before. I haven't tried it either. So right now, like you told me the other day that you saw my story that I was having anxiety issues.
I really want to talk about it, but yeah, as I said, being not well informed, and I just didn't know how to reach you out and how to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I really can't help you.
I know, it's just, I think there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of stigma about it, but I think I try to be very vocal about it on my social media because it's very normal to me. If I put, today I'm really manic and I'm really depressed, I'm going to put it on my social media. I try to be as vocal about it as possible, and, some people might like it, some people might not.
Identify with it. People, it sort of relieves others, like people who are not able to express and accept it, acknowledge it. They are like, okay, the other person is able to, is bold enough to talk about it, and we can identify with that. So it sometimes helps as well, but yeah, there's like 50% things that social media makes more difficult for us instead of
Well, the way I see my social media, university aside, is the place where I can go and bend and talk about everything that I want to. And most of my life is, having anxiety and depression and eating disorders. And I like to talk about it because I think that if I keep it to myself, I'm going to go crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, if I put it out there, if I put it for my friends to see, then it becomes something that everyone knows. And then if someone feels the same way, they message me and they're like, oh, I saw your story the other day and I kind of do the same thing, and then it starts a conversation like that. So in a way, I see the benefit of social media for that reason. And like you said, right now with the pandemic, all I can rely on is my parents. Mm-hmm. So if I'm having issues, I call them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this sort of, helps you to feel a bit lighter and vent out the things that's actually going on in your head.
Yeah, I know that it's hard for them to, distance themselves from, am I being a psychiatrist or am I being your mother or your dad?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. It's quite hard for them to give me advice just professionally without putting their feelings into it, but they're inevitably going to do it. But I think they try to be as objective as possible when I tell them, listen, this is serious, I need your advice. And then they are very open about everything, really. Yeah.
So, how now you, as you have been living in UK for more than 4 years, what difference do you see as an individual? Are people here more acceptable and vocal about it, or what's your take on that? How's the society and environment here, and how is it different compared to Mexico?
I think it's kind of hard. I think I
Do you
don't
find
really
it different,
notice a
or
difference. Sorry?
do you find any difference at all in terms of mental health and education?
I think, I mean, in terms of society, in terms of the people that I've related to in both countries, I think people here are perhaps more open to the conversation or to the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of conservative people in this country, a lot of people who don't really want to talk about it. And that's what shocked me as well. Like, there isn't much difference in between cultures. You would think so, but British people are they hold their feelings in a lot. You know, they're famous for that. They're famous for being contained and repressed and stiff upper lip all the time. And it does worry me a little bit that they are not open about their emotions sometimes. But in terms of, like, what shocks me the most is how my country, that's a bit shit and it's third world country, has more psychiatrists than here. That's something I can't wrap my head around. But at least in terms of conversation, yeah, I think people here are more
But
willing to
what about
talk about it.
conversation? Like, are they well informed and educated? Do they know what the term anxiety and depression? When you talk to them about anything that you're dealing with, so are they well informed about it, or it's just a general conversation?
I think it's more of a general conversation than actually being well informed. I think not a lot of people know what they're talking about. Like, you can have a broad idea of it, but not actually. Well, that's just the people that I relate to, anyways. I can't speak for everyone in the country, but from what I've noticed from my British friends, they have some sort of idea, but it's not properly informed.
Okay. Okay, one more question. So, how do you deal with it, and what measures do you think should be taken? As we spoke about, not having a proper education about it, awareness about it during the childhood, while being in the school. That's the case in Mexico. That's the case in India, and I am sure in many other countries. So, what according to you should be the like proper measures that needs to be taken so that the future generations are well aware and informed about it?
I mean, I'm not really an expert, so I'm just going off from what my parents have told me throughout the years. But I think we prioritize so much, physical health in schools, like,
a lot.
Exercise and stuff. We prioritize, I don't know, learning a new language and all those things that are obviously useful.
Everything except what we will be doing in near future, immediate future, once we are out of school. Yeah.
I reckon that if schools maybe not have like per se a class of just psychology, but if in schools it was a conversation that teachers were open and willing to talk about, that would be the first step. I know that there are some schools, at least in my home country, that do have a subject of school psychology or something like that. So that's the first step, like start with the schools, because that is a foundation where all kids go, where they get informed. One of the major things that I do want to touch upon was the bullying that exists, at least in the culture that I live in. Mm-hmm. From that derives a lot of mental issues from there, and schools don't really address it, or are starting to at least. But at least when I was a kid, that was something that was never addressed because they didn't think bullying was a thing. And I think now, with the generations that are coming, it's starting to be more well known to people. What else? I think we can't really change the generation from our parents. We can try.
as per the as in my opinion, what I've seen, people in UK, they are less dependable on their family. So do you think being more in contact with your family and parents and speaking about the issues that you face internally with them would help the people within the community? Like, I'm talking about UK, the people here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're very detached from family, unlike our culture. So I don't really think that a change to their family would do much good. If
How
that
do
if
you
that
think
makes any
next
sense.
grow? Like, for how long? This is just a general question. For how long does the child and parents stay together until they get married, or
I've known people that stay with their parents after they get married, after they have children. The mom then goes live with you. I've seen all of it. But usually I would say that there's an average of like maybe before you get married,
Mhm.
after you're done with uni, then that's the age you leave.
Because in
Say.
India, for guys, it is like for their entire life they stay together in joint family with their parents, and girls, once they get married, they move to a different place, different family. So that's the end of their connection to the family. But yeah, guys stay on for like forever.
Yeah. Well, it's different sort of cultures, really. There's also the culture of in my country, it's very drastic, but there's also the culture that you have to take care of your parents all your life, and when you graduate, when you get a job, then that money goes towards taking care of your parents when they're older.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that. I don't belong to that, but it is something that exists as well.
Okay. And any message that you would like to give to the people watching this in terms of mental health and awareness?
Um, if you're in the UK, I think the most important thing is to know who to go to the NHS, know the numbers, know that there is someone out there. You have to basically swim to find them, but there is help.
Mhm.
And to people overall, I think that therapy is not something to be scared of. You're not gonna get murdered or whatever you think your preconception of therapy is. I think you have to let it go, have a go at it, and see how it goes like, because you can have all the treatment in the world, but if you don't have proper therapy, you're not gonna get any better,
For
in
me,
my
the
opinion.
basic understanding of therapy or counseling is like, there are certain things that you can't just talk about those things to your family, to your friends. So you just need one right person to go and talk about it, who will listen to it without being judgmental or without any bias towards it. So yeah, that's the basic thing. And I think that's the only reason that's the basic reason actually people don't acknowledge it or don't go and reach out for therapy, because they think the things that they have, bottled up inside for so long will have to eventually come out, and that somewhere scares them out, apart from the taboo and stigma that we have around seeking the mental help or therapy.
Yeah. I mean, definitely having someone to go and talk to is obviously a viable choice and a necessary choice. I think I'm always going to be biased, and I'm always going to tell my friends that come to me, I'm always going to say, go to therapy. But that's, because of everything that I've been through with my parents and stuff. But I'm obviously going to listen to my friends, only that the advice that I can give to people might not be as informed as someone who's trained in that area might be. And I am scared that I might say something and trigger something in them that I didn't mean to, or make them feel worse than they were before. And for that reason, I'm always hesitant to give advice when my friends reach out to me, only because I know that a professional could do a much better work than
Of
me.
course, we can give them advice on personal level, but if it is something
Hmm.
serious, we definitely would need to go and seek professional advice on that. Yes.
Yeah, but I do agree that just venting about it, we're normal human beings, and especially with the pandemic, it's really hard. But calling someone, having a video call with a friend every now and then just to check up on them, I think it's necessary
Mhm.
for us, because this is something that
Very
is
much.
new for everyone. We
Mhm.
don't really know what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Nanda, that was it. Thank you so much for being with
Yeah.
me. Thank you.
No worries.